in exactly 24 hours, every screen on Earth will go dark. Every connection is feared. Every digital trace of your life erased. This isn't a drill. This isn't science fiction. This is a question that keeps intelligence agencies, tech billionaires, and world leaders awake at night. What if the internet disappeared tomorrow? 8 billion people, 5 billion internet users, 200 billion connected devices. All of it gone. But here's what they're not telling you. We've been closer to this nightmare than you think. And the terrifying part: the first casualties won't be your social media accounts. They'll be human lives, thousands of them. In the first hour alone, hour zero, the internet vanishes. At St. Mary's Hospital in London, a surgeon's hand freezes mid-incision. The digital monitoring system displaying the patient's vitals flatlined. Not the patient, the screen. Across the Atlantic, 7,000 flights are airborne. Pilots suddenly lose GPS navigation, weather data, and communication with ground control. They're flying blind at 500 miles per hour, 30,000 feet above the Earth. But it gets worse. In nuclear power plants from France to Japan, automated safety protocols that prevent meltdowns. They run on internet-connected systems. Engineers scramble, but the backup protocols, they were updated online. The backups have no backup. This isn't theory. In 2016, a cyber attack called Mirai took down internet access for millions on the US East Coast for just 11 hours. Emergency services were crippled. 911 calls couldn't be routed. Hospitals postponed surgeries. And that was just a taste. Welcome to hour one of a world without the internet. And we're just getting started. Hour 6. The global economy doesn't just crash, it evaporates. The New York Stock Exchange, Nasdaq, London Stock Exchange, Tokyo all shut down instantly. Not because stocks are plummeting, because there's no system to trade them on. $120 trillion in market value exists only as digital data. Without the internet, it's not worthless. It simply doesn't exist. You rush to the bank. The doors are locked. ATM is dead. Credit cards, useless plastic. Banking records, account balances, transaction histories, they're stored on servers that communicate via internet. No internet, no proof you have money. Your life savings, they're Schrödinger's, fortune simultaneously existing and not existing. Here's the shocking reality. 97% of all money in the world is digital. Only 3% exists as physical cash. In Sweden, only 1% of transactions use cash. Without the internet, the richest nation per capita becomes the poorest overnight. But the real chaos, it's happening at your local grocery store. Shelves still full, but the barcode scanners, dead inventory systems, offline payment terminals, worthless. The supply chain ships, trucks, warehouses, coordinated by internet-based logistics. Within 48 hours, grocery stores are empty. Not from shortage, from paralysis. In 2021, a single software glitch at Fastly, a content delivery network, took down Amazon, Reddit, CNN, and UK government websites for barely an hour. The estimated cost, $6 billion. Now multiply that by every hour, every day, indefinitely. Day 2. The silence is deafening. No news updates. No email, no way to contact anyone beyond earshot. But here's the sinister twist. This isn't just inconvenience. This is erasure. Every photo you've taken in the last decade stored in the cloud, every document, every memory, every digital footprint of your existence, they're not on your device. They're on servers you can't reach. And without internet, they might as well be on Mars. Researchers at the University of Southern California found that 90% of human knowledge created in the last 30 years exists only in digital form. Medical research, scientific discoveries, historical records, entire libraries of human achievement. But the tragedy goes deeper. Families separated by continents have no way to communicate. A mother in Manila can't tell her daughter in Manhattan she's sick. A student in Mumbai can't access the university application that determines their future. Love letters, family photos, voices of the departed, preserved in videos, trapped behind a digital wall that no longer has a door. And then comes the misinformation. Without real-time fact-checking, without verified sources, rumors spread like wildfire. Is this a solar flare, a cyber war, an attack? Nobody knows. Panic fills the void that information once occupied. Syria's internet was shut down for 4 days in 2012. During that blackout, reports of government atrocities couldn't reach the outside world. Crimes happened in the dark. History was erased in real time. Now imagine that darkness going global. Week 1. Society begins to fracture. Law enforcement agencies rely on interconnected databases to track criminals, share intelligence, coordinate responses. Without internet, each police department becomes an island. Interpol, the FBI, they can't communicate across cities, let alone countries. But the real breakdown happens in the human psyche. We underestimate the internet's role as social infrastructure. For 2 billion people, especially the elderly and disabled, video calls are their only connection to family. For millions struggling with mental health, online support groups are lifelines. Cut that cord and you create an epidemic of isolation more deadly than any virus. Studies show that prolonged isolation increases mortality risk by 29%, the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Now multiply that by hundreds of millions, all severed from their support networks simultaneously. Jobs disappear overnight. 2.4 billion people work in internet-dependent industries. Programmers, designers, customer service, online teachers, content creators unemployed in an instant. And the jobs that remain, most can't function. Modern farming uses internet-connected sensors. Manufacturing relies on automated systems. Even your local coffee shop uses cloud-based payment processors. Within 2 weeks, the unemployment rate doesn't climb, it explodes to levels that make the Great Depression look like a minor recession. 60% unemployment, possibly higher. But here's what the experts whisper about in closed-door meetings. This is exactly how civilizations collapse. Not with a bang, but with broken systems cascading into chaos. One failure triggering 10 more. And yet, there's something else happening. Something unexpected. Month 1. In the ruins of the digital age, something ancient stirs human resilience. For the first time in decades, neighbors knock on doors not to deliver packages, but to check if you're okay. Community bulletin boards appear. Handwritten, analog, real. Libraries transform from quiet archives to bustling hubs of information exchange. Encyclopedias, once relics, become treasures. Skills we'd forgotten, writing letters, face-to-face conversation, they're not just nostalgia. They're survival. Dr. Sarah Thompson, a sociologist who studied communities after Hurricane Katrina knocked out communications, found something remarkable. When digital connections severed, human connections strengthened. Crime rates initially spiked, then plummeted. People looked out for each other. They had to. Teenagers, who'd never known life without smartphones, discover something revolutionary: presence, eye contact, unfiltered conversation. The dopamine hits from likes and shares withdraw like any addiction, painful at first. Then clarity. Mental health professionals report an unexpected phenomenon. After the initial trauma, anxiety and depression rates begin to decline. The constant comparison, the infinite scroll, the manufactured urgency of notifications gone. In its place, something we'd almost forgotten: silence, stillness, sanity. But could we rebuild? Could humanity create a new internet from scratch? Theoretically, yes, the knowledge exists in textbooks, in the minds of engineers. But it took 50 years to build what we have. Starting over, we're looking at decades. And that's if we have the resources, the stability, the global cooperation. But here's what they don't want you to know. This scenario isn't hypothetical. it's inevitable. Not a matter of if but when. Solar storms. In 1859, the Carrington Event, massive solar flare hit Earth. Telegraph systems exploded. Operators received electric shocks. If that happened today, every satellite fried, every undersea cable damaged by induced currents, the entire internet infrastructure, and NASA scientists estimate we have a 12% chance of another Carrington-level event in the next decade. Then there's the physical vulnerability. The entire internet relies on just 400 undersea cables. Cut a dozen in strategic locations, and continents go dark. In 2017, someone cut a single fiber optic cable. In Arizona, 90,000 people lost service for 12 hours. The cables, they're not guarded. They're not even hidden. You could Google their locations right now. Nation-states are already mapping each other's digital infrastructure, finding weak points, preparing for a conflict, fought not with missiles, but with malware. One expertly coordinated attack could trigger cascading failures across the global network. Security experts call it Digital Pearl Harbor. And the terrifying consensus: we're not prepared. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security ran a simulation in 2020. Cyberstorm, the scenario. Coordinated attacks on critical internet infrastructure. The conclusion: we'd lose control within 96 hours. Total societal breakdown within 3 weeks. And that's with internet only partially compromised. So let me ask you something. If the internet disappeared tomorrow, would we lose everything? Or would we find something we've been missing? We'd lose convenience, efficiency, the miracle of instant global communication, the sum of human knowledge at our fingertips. We'd lose billions in productivity, decades of progress, tools that have extended lifespans and expanded opportunities. But we'd also lose the anxiety of constant connection, the erosion of privacy, the weaponization of information, the loneliness of 1,000 online friends but no one to call at 3 a.m., the comparison culture that makes us feel perpetually inadequate. Perhaps the real question isn't what we'd lose, it's what we've already lost, and whether we'd have the courage to reclaim it, even if the internet didn't disappear. Because here's the final truth. We don't need the internet to vanish, to disconnect. We just need to choose it. Every notification ignored. Every screen set aside. Every moment reclaimed from the digital void and returned to the real world. That's a revolution more powerful than any technology. The internet won't disappear tomorrow. Probably not next year. Maybe not in our lifetimes. But one day, whether through disaster, attack, or our own choices, we will face this reckoning. And when that day comes, will we crumble? Or will we remember what our ancestors knew, that humanity thrived for 200,000 years without a single Wi-Fi signal? That resilience isn't downloaded. That connection isn't measured in bandwidth. That the most important network is the one between human hearts. The internet is humanity's greatest tool. But it's just that, a tool. And like any tool, it serves us, or we serve it. The choice has always been ours. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, if the internet disappeared tomorrow, what would you miss most? And more importantly, what wouldn't you miss at all? This is the world we've built. A magnificent tower of connection, standing on a foundation of fragile cables and vulnerable satellites. We can't imagine life without it, and that's exactly why we should. Because the internet might disappear tomorrow, or it might last forever. But either way, the question remains: are we more connected than ever before? Or have we never been more alone? The answer isn't in the cloud, it's in the mirror. What would you do with your last 24 hours online? Leave your answer in the comments, because one day you might actually have to find out.